I 26F have an older sister 32F who had a tragic accident 3 years ago that left her paralyzed from the waist down. It's been rough for everyone, but especially for her. Our family rallied around her, helping out as much as we can, and I've been there every step of the way because I love her so much. But since the accident, it feels like I don't deserve to have any good things happen to me, or at least I'm not allowed to talk about them. Every time something positive happens in my life, I get shut down by my family. When I got a promotion at work last year, I was so happy and excited to tell them. I thought my family would be happy for me, but when I tried to share the news, my mom pulled me aside and told me to not now because my sister had a tough day. I ended up keeping it to myself. 8 months ago, my boyfriend proposed. When I told them, my mom immediately changed the subject, later telling me that my sister was feeling down about her own marriage struggles. It's like anything good in my life is an offense to my sister's situation. This happened a few days ago. I've been saving up for years to buy my first new car. I finally managed to do it, and I was so excited. I thought my family would be happy for me, so I decided to tell them. As soon as the words were out of my mouth, the room went dead silent. My mom whispered to me, "This isn't the time. Think about your sister." My sister looked so sad, and I instantly felt like the worst person in the world. I just couldn't handle it anymore, and I said, "Can't I share anything good in my life? I thought you'd all be happy for me." No one knew what to say, and I left the house. I've never done that before. Now I'm filled with regret and confusion. I love my sister, and I never want to hurt her, but it feels like I'm not allowed to have anything good happen to me. It's getting to the point where I feel like I'm walking on eggshells all the time. I understand my sister's life has changed drastically, and I'm genuinely supportive and have always been there for her. But sometimes I just want to be able to share my own life too. I feel so guilty for even feeling this way, like I'm being selfish or inconsiderate. Her husband and even my parents share things about their lives freely, and no one seems to mind. But as the younger sister, I'm not allowed to share anything good in front of her so I don't hurt her feelings. I get it. I really do. I understand she's going through a lot, and I don't want to add to her pain. But it feels like I'm not allowed to have any joy in my life around my family. Now I know I owe my sister an apology for how I reacted. I never want to make her feel sad, but I'm struggling with how to approach my family. I don't feel like I should apologize to them. And honestly, I don't think I'll be sharing anything with them in the future.
Comment 1. NTA. You have nothing to feel guilty for, and owe nobody any apologies. Hopefully, if they have any sense of decency, what you said gave them something to think about. If so, long overdue, but better late than never. If the fact they've collectively been acting like ours didn't click, then it's time for you to move on and share more of your life with people who care about you. Comment 2. NTA. Your sister is married with children, but you can't announce your proposal. Apologize to your sister if it makes you feel better, but you should also explain that your mother takes you aside every single time you announce something positive and tells you how it hurts your sister. It is entirely possible that your sister has no idea your mother is doing this. Your sister could be offended that your mother is treating her like a child. I've been with my husband for 8 years now. For the first 7 years, we planned heavily because we both wanted a child, but we needed to make sure we had everything just right because I was very firm in the fact that I would never be okay with sending our child to daycare. I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. He 100% agreed. We bought the house, we built the nursery, we saved every penny we could afford to save, etc. Right now we are sitting on a very nice nest egg of just over $150,000. I got pregnant in December 2022. I gave birth in the very beginning of September. It has been an absolute shit show since then. So, to kick off, within the first 2 months of me giving birth, and having severe PPD, he decides to make a completely out-of-the-blue career change. I urge him to go get checked by his PCP for PPD, because surely something must be wrong to be making such a life-changing decision with zero warning so soon after I give birth. He refuses. Insists that he is fine but that his career is all of a sudden too much and it's taking too much time away from bonding with the baby. Literally a normal 40 hours work week, but he was getting pissed because for the last 2 weeks of his employment, His boss had been asking that he works 4 hours every Saturday, his normal day off, but it's only 4 hours. So, he quits. He gets a job elsewhere 2 days later and takes a $4.50 per hour pay cut. Okay, no big deal. Except now he has to pay $160 out of each paycheck for the mandatory benefits and work fees. That doesn't include taxes. He also has been working 6 days a week, versus the 5 that he was working. So less time at home, but, well, they said I could probably get manager, so I guess it's okay. He is bringing in no more than $300 a paycheck, in comparison to the $600 plus paychecks he was getting. Our bills are almost $2,000 a month. Therefore we have had to pay out of our savings every single month and it adds up quick. Well, here's where I may be in a hole. Bills are obviously due soon. I asked him how much money he had set aside for the bills so I could work through the numbers. He tells me that he wasn't able to save anything for bills and he literally has $4 in his account. Meaning come the first, all of the bill money will be coming out of our savings. He tells me maybe you need to start looking for a job, my mom will probably watch the baby. I just don't fucking say anything because I know I'm going to explode. His mom comes here this morning and he runs it by her, without even getting my approval, which would absolutely be a hard no because I'm quite certain she's early stages of dementia, and she goes no, but I know a daycare that has openings and proceeds to call them and tell them that we want to enroll our daughter. I speak up and say no, I'm not putting the baby in daycare. I'm also not having her watch the baby. It's not happening and my husband needs to figure it out. My mill then tells me that it's not fair that I won't come up with solutions to help her son, who is clearly struggling. I snap. I tell her that it is not my job to come up with solutions for a man who failed me and our child. We had everything planned. We had the money. We figured this out and spent years figuring it out before coming to this point. Now he is going against the plan. He decided to quit his job. He refused to get help when I urged him to. He didn't save any of his paychecks for bills. This is on him, 100%. Before anyone could respond, I went inside and packed an overnight bag for both me and the baby and told him I'd be going to my mother's house until he got his shit together and got his head on straight. He is mostly texting me saying that he can't believe I think he is failing us. But his mother is blowing up my phone saying that I'm a dumb cunt and that plans change, and since I'm married to her son and he's the only one working, that he should be the final say in what happens from this point forward. Comment 1. NTA, but you need to tell your husband that he cannot put himself first when he has a child. He's upset because he had to work on a Saturday twice? He proved himself untrustworthy when it comes to the really important things. He completely F over y'all's plan without giving 2 F and about you or your child. But his mom calling you a dumb cunt is unacceptable. He needs to scold his mother for that. Comment 2. You know he did this on purpose, right? He saw that $150,000 in the bank and figured if you can stay off work for the baby then he shouldn't have to work hard either. I mean, I get it, it can be hard to have one person completely stay home while the other one is working all the time, but that was the agreement. He broke it because he wanted to. You need to block your mother-in-law and tell him that she will never see your child again because she called you a dumb cunt. And let him know that she's never welcome back in your house until she apologizes and means it. Comment 3. So I just scrolled down and saw you were making $48 an hour as a PEDS nurse and he was making $21. Where TF y'all living that you thought you could survive without touching the savings with him only making $21? Were you in La La Land? NTA for saying what you said, but UTA for stopping work where you made majority and expected him, who saw nothing wrong with what he was making, to take over paying all bills on his own. Especially with taxes and other things needed to be taken out. My fiancé and I, both 20s, are getting married in a month and there's a dispute with my dad now and he claims I'm being unfair, but I wanted to get some thoughts on it. So Dad decided he was going to give a speech at the wedding without saying anything first. He had shared the contents of said speech with his sister, my aunt, and she knew the speech would not sit well with me and mentioned his plan to me. So in this speech he already wrote he talks a lot about how his wife is the love of his life, how amazing she is, etc. It's very similar to the speech he gave at their vow renewal 10 years ago. He hasn't shied away from expressing in front of me and to me that he never loved anyone like he loved his wife, how all his past relationships pale in comparison. And that includes my mom, who was his first wife, who left him widowed with an 8-year-old son at the time. To make it even more difficult to hear, the vow renewal was held on my 18th birthday, and I got to celebrate my birthday by hearing Dad talk about how Mom meant nothing because his second wife was so much better. They were married 8 years at the time. But a lot of family and friends didn't attend their actual wedding and they decided they'd basically have a second one to celebrate, and they decided my birthday was the perfect time to do this. Anyway, the speech he wrote for my wedding had a lot of this content from what my aunt heard from my dad and read herself. She knew on my wedding day the last thing I needed to hear was how much he adores his wife when he does so in a way that basically said my mom meant nothing to him. I told him I knew about the speech and he didn't have permission to give the speech at my wedding. Dad asked why not, and I told him I didn't want him to use my wedding to praise his wife. He said she means the world to us, so why would I say that? I told him she means the world to him. But she pales in comparison to my mom, who meant the world to me and still does. I told him he might have decided mom meant nothing, but that didn't mean I shared his feelings. He accused me of being sensitive and then said it seemed like I didn't care about his wife at all, and then he said she was a good mom to me for the 8 years she raised me. I told him she was never anything more than his wife. My mom died when I was 8, and I didn't get a new one. And the last thing I need to hear is how little she meant on my wedding day. Dad told me to be reasonable, and the parents of the bride and groom typically say something. I told him nothing he had to say had a place at my wedding. That this is mine and my fiancé's wedding, not his. I told him to get married again if all he wants to do is praise his wife. But it was not happening at mine. He told me to stop acting like a little boy and grow up. I left. Then his wife called crying about the fight Dad and I had, which led to Dad calling me again and telling me to grow up again. Comment 1. I'd talk to his wife and explain the situation. I'd be mortified if I was her, and tell him to not mention me at all. But if she's narcissistic, which would account for the dad's irrational need to praise her, edit, also why there is no mention of your mother, and why they keep stealing the attention from your celebration days, she'll think you have the problem. And if that's the case, then you're right to enforce no speech. NTA. Comment 2. NTA. It's your wedding. Your father is the one being insensitive here and acting like a little boy. Even if he had good intentions when he wrote the speech, your talk with him should have made it very clear that it would be inappropriate to say those things at your wedding. He needs to swallow his pride and accept that on your wedding day, everything should be focused on elevating you and your fiancé, not his wife, and certainly not on downplaying the importance of your mother. My brother Adam, 32M, and Sil Eve, 29F, are in the middle of a divorce. Eve is the one who wants the divorce. Adam very much does not, but Eve is determined and has already moved out. I, 30F, can't blame her, because I would have done the same. The background is that my brother has ADHD and has never been very good at complying with treatment to help with it. He's one of those people that has an amazing bouncy personality to be friends with, but living with him is a complete nightmare. I know, because growing up I was always expected to pick up his slack. He doesn't like to take meds because he doesn't like the way they feel, and therapy has never seemed to help him much. He and Eve met in college and he was living with our parents up until they got married, so I don't think she realized just how bad it was until then. Eve is one of the most chill people I know, but I've watched her go from happy and put together to a nervous wreck over their marriage. We're friends and talk a lot, and she confided in me that she feels like the only adult in the house and it's driving her slowly insane more than once. They tried marriage counseling but no lasting change. Eve has been in therapy for herself for the last year, but my brother doesn't see the point. The straw that broke the camel's back was her having surgery and my brother completely dropping the ball on helping her while she recovered, as she couldn't get around easily. Her mother ended up having to fly there to take care of her. She told him that she couldn't do it anymore and she wanted to have kids, but could never trust him to be a good parent now, so they needed to split. Ever since she moved out, his life has been complete chaos because she really was the only one doing any of the household management. I've been holding my tongue and trying to be supportive while he cries and complains because I know it's hard. But I was on the phone with him the other day and he called Eve a bitch for leaving him and making it about kids when she knows how much he wants them. I just had it. I told him that Eve leaving him was the best move for her own mental health, and she was probably right that he's not responsible enough to be a father right now and may never be at this rate. He needs to take a good look at his life without Eve and ask himself if he's capable of doing the hard, everyday parts of parenting or if he just wanted the fun parts while Eve did all the actual work. He's furious with me and our mom chewed me out for kicking him while he's down. Our dad agrees with me, and we have secretly made a pact that we're keeping Eve in the divorce, but thinks I shouldn't have kicked the anthill. Comment 1. NTA. It needed to be said. Though I'm sure Eve probably said it a million times and it made no difference, so I'm not sure if he'll even take in what you're saying. Not sure why your mum is chewing you out. He's the one who blamed Eve for leaving and called her names for it. Does she think that's okay? Does she expect you all to feed into his idea that it was Eve's fault? Is she okay with her son refusing to accept his behavior and acting like he's responsible enough to be a father and blaming his ex for leaving him? How will he change if he's not even facing that it's behavior that needs to be changed? Comment 2. NTA. We all understand he has issues because of his ADHD, but the man is 32 years old. Past time for him to take responsibility for his own mental and physical health. If he refuses to use the tools available to help himself out, then he has to suffer the consequences. Comment 3. I have ADHD and don't go to therapy or take any medication, besides weed lol, and I have a completely healthy marriage with a kid on the way as well. I clean, cook, handle yard work, etc., etc. He is using it as an excuse. ADHD doesn't just make you a lazy slob, it makes your mind hyperactive. The most annoying thing my wife has to do is listen to me completely bungle stories as I over-explain every goddamn detail I find remotely interesting. She loves and hates it but wouldn't divorce me over it. Your brother is just lazy, ADHD got nothing to do with it.